Good morning, people in the south, my people in the east. Good day, my dudes in the west. Good afternoon, and my fellow entrepreneurs in the north. Good evening. How you guys doing? Back again, and this time around, I'm here to talk about something very interesting. Something quite interesting. When when I left my corporate job, I thought I thought actually I never thought no. When I left my corporate job, there was tons of things that I didn't know exist in business. And I thought everything that I wanted, I would get at the time that I wanted them. Very important. At the time that I wanted them, I thought I would get. And later I learned that since I grew up from a poor background family, I'm going to have to apply the same approach that I applied when I grew up, because everything that I had, I worked for. There was no inheritance from my family whatsoever. So I knew that I will have to work hard for everything that I wanted to achieve, for everything that I wanted to acquire and attain. Because in my naivety, if there's such a way, I thought everything that I wanted I would get, you know. And I didn't know that there are so many things that existed that I never knew exists. So today, I want to talk about a board game. Is it a board game? Yeah, it's a board game. A game that we play called Snakes and Ladders. Many of you might be aware of this game. It's a board game called Snakes and Ladders. What happens is, in this game, you get a lot of snakes on the okay. Snakes and Ladders, it's a board game that works with a dice. So you roll a dice, and then the dice will give you a number, and then you count your moves according to the number that you got from the dice. So if you roll a dice and the dice gives you 4, you're gonna count 4 moves. So it counts from 1 to 100 going up. So it's 1, 2, 3, all the way. It's a journey that you have to walk. It's a route that we have to walk. But you start from step 1. You can roll the dice and get 1 from the dice. You're gonna just count 1. But before you enter the game, you have to first roll a 6. A 6 is an entry into the game. So you roll until you get a 6, then you start counting. If you haven't got the 6, you cannot start counting on the game. So you might be playing, say maybe you are 3 players on the game, and 2 of you don't get a 6. You will roll, but you don't get a 6. You will wait until you get a 6. One who rolled and got a 6 will start counting. But let me tell you, this game has got, we're going to come back to this thing that I just mentioned now. This game has got snakes on it. On top of this board, there's snakes, different sizes, and there's ladders, different sizes. The snakes are there to bite you and send you back to where you started sometimes. The ladders are there to uplift you and send you up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels up to where you didn't expect you would get. And I tend to compare entrepreneurship with snakes and ladders. This is how I compare the two, and they fit exactly the same. In entrepreneurship, we we happen to hit jackpot. I will explain that, what it means. And the jackpot will most probably elevate us to the next level. But the very same jackpot that you hit might result into a fail that might take you 100 steps back. So snakes and ladders, it's exactly like entrepreneurship. People who get into entrepreneurship, they don't get the same luck. So sometimes in snakes and ladders, you roll the dice and you don't get the 6 to start counting. But someone might come and roll the dice once and start counting immediately. Now you are there trying to get a 6, someone is busy counting up and even being elevated by the ladders. Later, when that someone is on close to winning on around 70, 75, then you get a 6, you start counting. But let me tell you, that someone who's already up there, who started first, might be beaten by the snake and be sent back to where they started. So, in entrepreneurship, it doesn't matter when you started, it doesn't matter who you are. You might be beaten as you think you are about to reach a destination or you're about to reach the goal. You might be beaten and lose or be sent back to where you started in entrepreneurship. So this is exactly like snakes and ladders. Now, these snakes has got purpose. These ladders have got purpose as well, as I explained. The ladders will elevate you, the snakes will take you down. These snakes are not the same in size, but there's one longest snake that takes you just when you're about to reach 100, just when you're about to win. The snake will take you back to the first level. Then there's the shortest snake that just takes you. That snake just takes you from the second level to the first level. It doesn't really take you too far. And then there's medium-sized snakes and so on. The ladders as well. There's the shortest ladder that just take you from the first level to the next level. I think it lets you jump about four positions, and then you move to the next level. And then there's the longest snake. The longest ladder that takes you to the last level. But this longest ladder delivers you right in front of a snake. So I think it's 3 moves from the longest snakes. So if you climb that longest ladder and it delivers you right there in front of the snake and you hit 3 on your dice, the snake will bite you and it will send you back to where you started. So in entrepreneurship, sometimes we get lucky, we hit a jackpot. In township lingo in South Africa, they would say you hit a bob. So there's a bob and there's a grab. So every time when you roll a dice, there's something called bob, B-O-B, and there's grab. Grab is G-R-A-P or G-R-A-B. I'm not sure how it's been spelled, but whatever it is, it's grab. Grab means you lost. Bob means you won, like you hit jackpot. So in entrepreneurship, sometimes you might hit jackpot, you might hit bob, and get your business funded or get a new deal somewhere, and let me give you an example. Say maybe you are running a dealership, you are selling vehicles, and then you hit bob, you hit jackpot, and then you realize, I've been wanting to expand this dealership, this motor vehicle dealership, into, now you want to scale into motorbikes dealership. So it's motor vehicles, motorbikes. So you wanted to expand into motorbike dealership, but you didn't have money. Now that you hit jackpot, there's a substantial amount of money that came in. You're thinking, let me expand. This is the perfect opportunity to expand. Now you're opening right next to the motor vehicle dealership, you're opening a motorbike dealership. Now you have 2 that are running. Little do you know that this might be a fail. So sometimes a bob that you hit might result into a crab. So sometimes the longest ladder that you climbed might send you to the longest snake to send you back. You see where I'm talking about similarities between the two. So this is a new business. You're selling motorbikes. This is an old existing business. You're selling vehicles, and you've been running for years. Now, here you start to experience problems because you're trying to get this up and running off the ground, acquire new customers, promote. You've hired new people, and the money runs out. When the money runs out, you as an entrepreneur, you always have hope that this is gonna work, and then you start taking from this one to feed this one. You start taking from this one to feed this one because you're hoping this is gonna work. This is gonna work out. Motorbikes are coming in now into the economy. People are buying motorbikes to do deliveries. People are buying. They're doing online shopping, and motorbikes are the in thing. But now the business doesn't say the same. You start taking from here to there because you believe it's gonna work out. Eventually you realize, no, this thing is killing both now. It's dying and it's killing this one as well. So this one starts bleeding. Once this one starts bleeding and starts over bleeding, there's a high possibility of death. Now you realize, this is not gonna work. Let me close down this one. By the time you close down this one, you've already caused the deep damage on this one. The bleeding was too deep. It bled for too long. Now it's starting to die out. So the bob that you hit has resulted into a fail. Snakes and ladders. You can roll the dice. The dice might land you on the longest ladder on the game. But now you're facing the longest snakes that might take you back. If you hit 3, you are right in the stomach of that snake. That snake is gonna send you back to where you started, level 2 or level 1, somewhere there, 13 or 6, somewhere there. It sends you there to start from the beginning and start counting your moves again. That is the game of snakes and ladders. So the longest snakes and the longest ladder in the game are communicating different messages. So the ladders are good. They are good things. Like they're taking you up, they're elevating you, they're moving you from the level below to the level higher. Ladders are good. We want ladders. But the snakes, obviously they're not good. But the message that the snake is communicating is quite important and very, very imperative for entrepreneurs to understand. So I think the snakes and ladders game should be played by kids, young kids, those that we know they're emerging or there's a high possibility of them to emerge as entrepreneurs. We should let them play that game so that they understand this challenge before they get into it. We were just playing this game as we grew up without understanding what it means. But recently I was online checking some stuff, learning some stuff online, and a picture of that game popped. And then I recalled, we used to play snakes and ladders. Something just rang in my head to say, this is exactly what you're doing now. Entrepreneurship, snakes and ladders. Then I started to recall all these activities that we were doing around the snakes and ladders game. We played that game every time we knock out from school. We would play this game on weekends. We would play this game. This game doesn't have a steering. A steering, it's a guru. Doesn't have a guru, this one. Unlike chess game, unlike many other board games, this one doesn't have a guru. You might be a guru, but this game depends solely on the dice that you're going to roll. So this is not in your control. Entrepreneurship success sometimes does not lie in your control. It lies in the Almighty's blessings and protection and all that. The connection you have with your inner self, the connection you have with your angels, your Almighty, whatever that you believe in. Snakes and ladders depended on the dice that we were rolling. It was never in our control. So there was no guru. There was no one who would say, I know how to skip these snakes, all these snakes. So the message that the snakes are communicating is the fact that in entrepreneurship, there is no way that you will reach 100 without being bitten by a snake. So beware of the snakes and be prepared emotionally of the snakes. Irrespective of how small the snake is, be prepared emotionally and beware that there's snakes on every line that you're going to walk and start counting your moves. There will be a snake. A snake doesn't necessarily, that snake on that game doesn't necessarily represent an actual snake. It represents a challenge, a shortfall, a holding back, retardness, of you as an entrepreneurship from going forward. Be careful and beware, because when you're prepared emotionally, you understand that on this path, I think if there's no snake on each row, there's a snake on every second row of the game. So you must be prepared that on this path, one way or the other, there must be a snake from the beginning of the row to the end. As I walk this path, I'm going to find a snake somewhere. All I have to do is just pray and be prepared emotionally, such that when it bites me, I know how to become immune to the poison or to the venom of the snake. That's the message the snakes are communicating from the game. The ladders on the other side, they're just communicating a success message that you need to find the ladder, climb the ladder, and go up. So in entrepreneurship, there will be ladders that you find, and when you climb these ladders, it's not always the case that you will remain there. You might find a snake to take you down. Snakes can be anything in our lives. Your friends could be snakes. I'm not saying your friends are snakes. Your friends could become snakes for you in entrepreneurship. When you borrow money from them, when you borrow the assets of the business to them, they might become those snakes to retard you. So it comes in different forms and different ways for you to understand what the snake could mean in the type of business that you're operating in. Snakes and ladders. So there's shorter snakes and shorter, a little bit medium snakes, and shorter ladders and a little bit medium ladders as well, going in different direction on the game. So the shorter ladder communicates the same message, but the most important ladder, I think, of the game. Remember what I said about entrepreneurship in the game? Same thing. So the most important ladder of the game is the shortest ladder. I think it has 3 steps on it. Shortest, it takes you from this level to that level. So that ladder skips you about 4 positions that you had to go through. So that ladder is just to show you, to prepare you that sometimes when you start, you might get lucky and skip about 4 challenges that you had to go through to the next level. When you look back, you might realize that I'm not that far, but I went a few steps high. That ladder, the reason I'm saying is the most important is because that ladder communicates something quite important to us, that for you to be elevated from the lowest level, the entry level, to the next, all you need is just 3 steps, So you can elevate yourself to the next level. So that ladder communicates self-elevation, self-belief, trust in yourself, trust that, or believe that you can elevate yourself from that level to the next level. Because the longer ladder, it's purely luck. You need to roll the dice and be at the correct position in line with the dice so that it puts you on the longer ladder. The shorter ladder, I think the most climbed ladder is that shorter ladder, the way it's been positioned. I think the person who designed that game was designing it for emerging and aspiring entrepreneurs. So the shorter snake as well, it's on the same level with the shorter ladder. It also communicates that even though you have walked this journey so far, you're not too far. You're not too far from where you started. So the shorter snakes bite you from the second level to the first level, where you just, mostly it doesn't, you don't feel the pain of the shorter snake. There's a guy that we used to play with. That guy had beef with the shorter snake because every time he plays, he could get beaten by that shorter snake. Every time, almost every time he played, the shorter snake would bite him. He would always go one level down. So that shorter snake, it's there to prepare you emotionally. Once you get beaten by that shorter snake more than 3 times, you become immune to the pain. It can bite you, go back, bite you, go, then you become immune to the pain. So that when you get the medium snake, you're already used to how the pain feels. When you now face the longer snake, you are immune to the pain. Even if it takes you back to the beginning, you know the lesson that you've learned. That's the game of snakes and ladders, So this is one of the things that I think they were misrepresented to us. They were not well marketed. So we played the game without understanding why. I'll give you an example with a few snakes that beat me. Not literally on snakes and ladders, because I got beaten a lot on snakes and ladders. So in entrepreneurship, I got beaten by a few snakes. The shorter ones, the medium ones. I haven't been beaten by the longer one yet, but I've climbed the ladders as well. The shorter one, I've climbed it many times. The medium one, I've climbed them many times. So, excuse me, at some point in my business, I got into partnership with someone, a very good friend of mine, that I have known for some time, and I happened to be in partnership with him. We were running the first encounter of business as a full-time entrepreneur. We were running the business together, and I eventually got an egg on my face because we did the partnership without a proper formal contract. And the day we got separated, that was the day I learned that I was supposed to do this and this and this and that, and I didn't. And the snake bit me. But this was the short snake. So I started to build up on being immune to the pain of being bitten by a snake. The next bite, I bought goods. I bought stock that I had to deliver to a customer. The customers who called and said, bring us this stock. I used my last money to buy the stock because it was quite plenty of things. It was a lot of things. They required a lot of money. I spent money on those things. And the bad thing about this bite was because the stock that they wanted, once you buy, you cannot return. It's one of those stocks that you cannot return. You buy, it's done. You must deliver. Buy the stocks, I go and deliver. When I get there, I'm being told they don't want them anymore. They do not want them anymore. I had to find a way or a plan to get rid of this stock. I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs who bought stock. In your storerooms, there's things that you bought. They rejected them, or they said this is not what we ordered, or they just said no, we don't want this anymore. We found another option somewhere. You went back with your stock. You went back with your material. You went back with that was a bite from one of the shortest snake to train you, to get you immune to the pain of being bitten by a snake on the snakes and ladders. Another beating, another bite, not a beating, another bite, was when I got a big order from one of the prominent companies to deliver some goods as well. And I didn't have money at all. Didn't have money to buy the stock. And the customer ended up running out of patience. And they told me they've cancelled the order because I cannot deliver. I keep on coming with excuses. Why am I saying this? There's something that there's something called working capital. In your business, make sure that the first thing that you maintain in your business is working capital. The very first thing that you maintain is working capital. If you don't have working capital, you don't have business, because anytime you can get an order. Anytime in your car wash, a car can drive in for it to be washed. You don't have soup, you don't have clothes to wash, you don't have vacuum machine, you're borrowing it from your cousin or your friend, and that day you fought and they took their vacuum cleaner. Now here's a car. You don't have soup, you have nothing. You have to wash the car. Now the customer is here. You are now being forced to send the customer back. That's how many car washes close down. Make sure that you have working capital sufficient to run the type of business that you're running. Very important. If you don't understand what a working capital is, go into our TikTok page and search on the profile. You'll find a video that talks about working capital. My TikTok page is AJ Ngele. So these bites are very important, especially by the shorter snake. The last one, I think I owed a lot of people money, and a lot of friends, a lot of acquaintances, a lot of colleagues money that I used as working capital, and I could not pay them all in time. So one day they called and sent me messages all at the same time. They wanted their money because they were fed up. They wanted their money. Now these friends, these acquaintances, these colleagues became snakes from Snakes and Ladders. Because as I thought I had money to run the business, as I thought I have a working capital, and this might include your family members. As I thought I have a working capital, anytime if I get an order, I'll be able to maintain or fulfill that order and deliver. They want their money now. Some of them promised to send me to the lawyers. Actually, one of them sent me to the lawyers. The lawyers got in contact with me. They wanted the money. So these people that you loved so much tend to become snakes, because they're gonna send you back to where you started. You see what I meant when I said your friends, your fellow entrepreneurs can become snakes as well. I didn't mean to become snakes in a bad way, in a satanic way. They can become snakes to bite you and send you back to where you started. So that's basically what Snakes and Ladders is about. It's an entrepreneurial game. It's not game for everyone. So if your kids like to play that game, start to introduce small little businesses that they can run, just to see if they understand how to replicate what they learned from that game to a real life situation. But let them know, make them aware, that the game that you're playing is about entrepreneurship. So I'm going to give you a packet of Zimba chips each, or I'm going to give you 100 rand each. I give you 5 days. Maybe it's your sons or your daughters. I give you 5 days. In 5 days' time, anyone who brings the money that I gave you back with some interest, doesn't matter how much you bring it back with, but make sure that they don't have money in their money boxes, because they're going to take from the money box and say, yeah, I made money. Anyone who brings more, maybe give them a percentage. Anyone who brings more, from 2 to 5%, I'm going to give you another 100 rand to repeat the process that you have achieved. But keep on playing the Snakes and Ladders. I assure you, your kids are going to become successful and prominent entrepreneurs. That game will teach them endurance. That game will teach them patience. That game will teach them that not every ladder is going to take you up for real. Because every ladder that takes you up delivers you just in next to the mouth of a snake. That's as simple as that. So if you're interested in seeing what I mean, go and buy Snakes and Ladders game and give it to your kids to play. Teach them how to play, give it to them to play, and then start experiencing what they have learned from this game. Don't just give them for them to play for fun. That game is very important for someone to become an entrepreneur. Quite imperative. I played that game so much. Me and my siblings, my cousins, my friends played that game so much that I still remember the rules. I still remember how it works even today. I'm old, but I still remember. We played this game when I was still young, but I still remember what the game was about. And I'm starting to relate to entrepreneurship because everything that is happening on that game is everything that entrepreneurs are going through. Snakes and ladders. So there's people who are going to get into the game and build empires right in front of you. They found you here. They found you in the game, in the entrepreneurial journey. They're going to get into entrepreneurship, walk their path, pass you, and succeed in whatever they're doing right in front of your eyes. That should not move you an inch. Nah, relax and give yourself some time. Grow gradually, because you need to understand how to endure the pain of being bitten by these snakes and become immune to the pain and the venom. Very important. Not just the pain, but the venom. Because the venom destroys patience. Once your patience get destroyed, you quit entrepreneurship. I played the snakes and ladders game with a lot of guys who ended up quitting because they kept on being bitten by the longest snakes over and over and over again, and they end up throwing in the towel. Nah, this game is useless. I will never win. That's why there is no guru in snakes and ladders. Show me one guy who says, nah, I can skip all the snakes, because it's not in your control. You depend on the dice. One dice, two dice. So dice is dice, plural and singular. Dice. Yeah, it's dice. Depends on the dice. So do not envy anyone who comes in, throw in the dice, get a 6, throw again. Because if you get a 6, you throw again for the second time. That's one of the rules. You see, still remember the rules. If you throw a 6, you have an opportunity to throw again without being interrupted. Now you throw a 6, it opens the door. You throw again, you get a 6, you start counting. You throw again because you got a 6 in your last throw, then you start counting. Now you're already far ahead from everyone. Everyone's still struggling to get a 6. You're already far ahead from everyone. The next thing, the longest ladder takes you up, and everyone is envying you. Hey, this guy's winning. Then the next thing, you throw a 3, the longest snake takes you back, and then you stand in a wave of other entrepreneurs. And if someone throws a number and they count and they find you in a certain block, you cannot share a block. So they kick you out. You must go start the game again by throwing a 6 over again. 2 minutes you were there, the next minute you are out of the game. Now everyone doesn't want to be you. That's entrepreneurship. Everyone hates to become you. Everyone doesn't want to see themselves next to you. You are a problem. That's how it works. The next thing, the guy who struggled to get in with a 6, everyone was in the game, being beaten, climbing up and down. The guy gets in. He gets up all the ladders. He gets the longest ladder. He skips the longest snakes. He wins the game. Because he's been through the pain. He's been through the pain before he even started. He's been through the pain, He's been through the pain so much that he became so patient with the game. He believed that I will make it to 6 and I will open my door and start counting my way through. That is snakes and ladders. So don't forget to subscribe. There will be a pop-up here. The pop-up that's going to pop here is the face of this channel. It's my face. So you just click on that face and then it will give you an option to subscribe. Then you subscribe to this channel. So a lot of people, when I say there will be a pop-up, they expect to see the word subscribe popping up as subscribe. No, there will be a face that pops up here. A face of this channel, which is me, which is my face. It will pop here. You click that face and you subscribe. On the right hand side, there will be the next episode that will pop, and then you click there, it will take you to the next episode. Simple as that. So Thank you very much for being with me today, and I hope you have learned something about snakes and ladders. And let's go use the game for the actual meant and the actual purpose it was meant for, and play the game with our kids and teach them this thing. Until next time, I'll see you next week. Next week.